In 2005, we got Land of the Dead, a movie that is kinda poo-poo. I mean, it has its fans. It's not Romero's worst zombie film by a long shot. Pretty sure Survival of the Dead claims that title, but it's definitely not close to the best either. Regardless of how you feel about it, I think we can all agree it had some interesting ideas, even if poorly executed. We won't explore them here, and I'm about to make my first movie review on this channel. That same year, just a few months later, we got the game version, Road to Fiddler's Green. It was primarily developed for PC, then got an original Xbox port. We're going to check out the Xbox version for, reasons I'll explain later. If you see some weirdness, you can chalk it up to the fact I'm recording all of this off a legit original Xbox. With all that housekeeping out of the way, we can talk about the game more in depth. The plot has you controlling a farmer who lives in this big old house all by himself. From what I can tell, the character has no family or anything like that. The power goes out, and the neighbors are weirdly standing in the yard. Once you find a gun in the attic, all sorts of zombies begin to siege the house. This opening is actually pretty good. It can be intense at times, truth be told. The first gun you get is a .22 caliber rifle, which is ultra weak, and it can only hold 4 rounds at a time. So this means you have to rely on melee. Early melee weapons require several hits before the zombies finally stay down. Really, my only complaint at this point is the zombies themselves. Every single zombie's tall and looking like they've been hitting the gym. Any fat zombies look like they could be WWE wrestlers. I guess in this universe, zombification turns people into chads. After clearing the immediate area, the main character decides to check on his neighbors. This leads to the best experience the game can offer. First, you're in a hay bale maze, which can be a little spooky as you turn corners, wondering what you're going to run into. Even though the music is pretty generic, the atmosphere is spot on. Then you're greeted by a cornfield. Classic, spooky, hella good level design choices. Again, at this point, I only have 1, maybe 2 complaints. Melee takes forever to kill zombies. Hitting them with the primary attack doesn't stagger them so they can hit you back. This means you gotta perform a strong attack so they at least go down on the ground briefly. You gotta wait for them to get back up. Strong attack, wait, you get the idea. I have a suspicion that as the zombies are standing back up, they're invincible, because if I manage to land an attack during this, it doesn't seem to do anything. I could be wrong, though. At this point, you just got the .22 caliber rifle, and you got a revolver that is sometimes a one-shot kill to the head. I'll talk more about the asinine gun mechanics later. Both these weapons have little ammo at this stage of the game. This means you're crawling by just smacking zombies until they die. The game immediately slows down. At the starting house, this is fine. It's a wide open area with tons of zombies shambling about. It feels intense, and it's honestly engaging. It gives you a chance to learn the game, and the very light damage means that you're kind of stressed out if you can kill the zombies in time before they corner you. But in the hay bale maze and in the cornfields, typically you get 1 or 2 enemies trained into a corridor, which means you can't run past them. They're not going to get around you, and at some points, if there's 2 zombies, they might not be able to get around each other, so you're really just able to kill one while the other one's kind of bugged. So at this point, the game is already boring, but hey, it might get better, right? I know some games that have some slow intros. Shocking, but not shocking, the neighbors are dead, and I guess they still have power because their TV works. It's also in this house where you find an Easter egg.
I know Kung Fu.
Kung Fu fists, or a super overpowered melee attack. It's definitely unexpected and hilarious as your hands are suddenly tattooed. I used it for a bit, but put it down because it does feel like cheating. Also, the character voicing each attack got annoying really fast. I've read online that this Easter egg can be found in multiple levels, not just this one, but I only found it here. Once back home, after checking out the neighbors, the farmer man goes stir-crazy and runs out of supplies. He decides then to head into the city and maybe find other humans. Going into the city is like the worst thing you can do during a zombie scenario, but this is a video game, and that's where the action's gonna happen. The city is honestly really cool looking. Fire is used to separate the player from inaccessible areas, but it also acts as lighting. Really cool stuff. It just looks great. I began to make me enjoy it again after my initial complaints of it being boring, but then, the first sewer level. And I say first because there's actually several sewer sections in this game. It seems like every release in the early 2000s had to have a sewer. When trying to decide what to review next, I was playing Constantine, which came out that same year, and guess what? There's a sewer. And honestly, at this point, I'm going to stop the tour. I've been going level by level to introduce the game, and I did this to show the most annoying aspect about Fiddler's Green: lost potential. The best parts are definitely front-loaded, because from this sewer onward, there's rarely any new content. You'll find more guns. Sometimes a new zombie type is introduced, like this one that throws up on you. There are set pieces like this sniper escort mission, which is really bad and annoying. Never played Chaser? Never mind. So by the time you've hit this sewer, you've seen the best the game is going to be. Putting it down now, you'd be like, yeah, Fiddler's Green's interesting. It's not as bad as the other low-budget trash like Patriots or Mob Enforcer, but, you know, it's all right. But if you keep going, the cracks in the quality begin to show. There's no storing health items. You just find these little pill balls you pick up along the way. There's no new mechanics being introduced. The plot's not engaging enough to really care. I mean, this is a 2005 low-budget zombie game. I wasn't expecting, like, you know, Resident Evil 4 or anything. But they showed everything off immediately. You know what the rest of the game's going to be like from here on out. Eventually, you'll hit an ammo cap, so it's best to start blasting. I don't play shooters with a controller much anymore, so some of this could be my own skill. There are times where I felt like that Polygon Doom 2016 fiasco. Anytime you pull the trigger, the reticle moves, I guess, to simulate recoil. The aiming is pretty sensitive, so being accurate is a challenge. I'd be fine with this, but when you do accurately line up your shot, it doesn't mean the hit detection is correct. Damage values seem to be at random. The revolver I mentioned earlier is usually a one-hit to the dome, but sometimes it doesn't register. It's like you hit their neck or something. The shotgun should be one of the best weapons in the game, but ironically, it's one of the worst. You might blow a limb off you weren't even aiming at. Funny enough, the revolver's still one of the best guns in the game, and behind it is the Glock. It boils down to melee being the best option because, one, it doesn't have any ammo, and two, the strong attack knocks them down, so at least if the damage values don't register, you don't have to worry about getting hit. Eventually, you find a fire axe, and it's the best melee weapon that I can think of, not counting the Kung Fu fists. It's the best melee weapon because it kills in one shot, and if for some reason you miss or it doesn't register, the second one always brings them down. What makes all this worse is that while the melee weapons are diverse in their animations and attack speed, the guns really don't feel different from each other because they're just not in any situation where you would use one over the other. I guess the only example I could think of is that the sniper rifle you can at least scope in on this specific set piece, but all the other weapons don't have a moment where you're like, oh, this would be a good time for this weapon, or this would be a good time for that weapon. It ain't like you can clear a room with the shotgun. There is a grenade, and it is quite useful watching zombies get blown up, but it all just goes to show that the weapons are not diverse enough to really warrant them being any more interesting than, oh, I hit the ammo cap, I guess I should use this gun for a while saving ammo in the few guns that actually do something. The game can't make up for this flaw either because, as said before, there's nothing really distracting you. The game is an absolute chore, it's boring, and eventually I just start running by the zombies. In all honesty, I did not beat this. It's so miserable, and with Starfield around the corner, I knew that no matter how bad that release could be, I'd have more fun with Bethesda jank than this sleepy zombie shooter. Some of you may remember that I've already reviewed this game. If you don't, I wouldn't be surprised. It's like 4 years old and has 600-ish views. But it's not a great video. Honestly, the earlier videos are all pretty stanky, but I keep them as a reminder that I'm getting better. I'm going to unlist that earlier video so people are more likely to find this new one, but I'll put a link to it in the description if you want to puke at its badness. So yeah, I revisited this game mainly because to this day I still see people defend it, saying it's not as bad as people say, and to that I can now confirm that it is indeed an awful game. The Land of the Dead license feels like a tack-on due to there being little to do with the movie. Sometimes you'll find zombies wielding weapons, but no one's pushing shopping carts or trying to pump gas. The story's about the main character trying to get to Fiddler's Green. I mean, it's in the title. That's the safe area where all the humans live post this zombie apocalypse. I didn't make it that far as stated, so there could be more Land of the Dead stuff and lore, but I kind of doubt it. It's important to mention that the developers, Brainbox, already had a zombie game pretty much finished. When the Land of the Dead video game rights were acquired by Groove, they had the devs finish it with the movie in mind. Their original vision would be eventually released, though I only think in Russia and PAL territories. It's called Day of the Zombie, and while almost all the assets are the same, the level designs differ here and there. It's still terrible, though. Anyway, revisiting this game allows me to hopefully release a better video and to put the rest that this game is awful. I played the Xbox version to kind of stand out from that other video, like maybe different platform ensured I tried something new, but reading the script right now, I can say I did better in general because half of that 8-minute review is me ranting that there are better zombie games out there, which there is. But I ignored most about the game and didn't talk a whole lot about it. I was just like, man, why am I playing this when I could play Left 4 Dead, yo? Also, this was one big test to see if I could record off my original Xbox, which, as stinky as it looks, yes, I can now review original Xbox games if I wish. Well, that's Land of the Dead. I'm never going to play it again. I would break this disc in half, but it's actually worth a bit. It's like $50, $60 on eBay, so I better keep it. If you want to play this game, for whatever reason, track down a PC copy, because believe it or not, there is a massive modding scene. There was a huge multiplayer fan base surrounding this game, and so most of the mods are for multiplayer and like the survival modes. However, there is a couple single player like campaigns with like custom guns and custom maps and stuff like that. You know, you'd be better off playing, you know, one of the million other better zombie games. I do have an idea for the next video, but I don't want to spoil anything. So for now, I'll just say what I always do. I'll see everyone in the next video of whatever that may be.